I didn't know it then, but that laugh was the start of me blowing up my entire career, on my own terms. I was sitting in that same busted office chair I'd had for 7 years, the one with the ripped armrest and a squeaky back that leaned too far. My eyes were locked on the coffee ring stain on my desk, the one I'd memorized from too many late nights when Carl slid a folder across to me. I didn't even have to open it. Promotion rejection number 11. I could already guess who got the spot. Probably Logan, the guy who had been here less than a year, but spent half his day kissing up to the VP. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to stay still. Carl leaned forward, like we were co-conspirators in some pathetic game. "You know how Q4 is. It's just not the right time for leadership changes," he said, giving me the same line he'd used every other time. His voice was soft, rehearsed, like he actually believed I'd keep swallowing it. I nodded like I bought the lie, like I hadn't trained every single guy they had promoted over me. Inside, I was boiling. I'd spent 7 years fixing other people's disasters, answering emergency calls at 2 in the morning, keeping Apex Group's biggest clients from walking out the door. And for what? Another pat on the head while someone else got the credit. "Listen," Carl added, trying to sound encouraging. "Just keep doing what you're doing. Your time will come." I stared at him. My time? My time had come and gone 10 times over. Logan probably didn't even know half the back-end systems I had built from scratch. But he smiled at the right people and played golf with the VP. Meanwhile, I was the guy they called when things went to hell, the one they could count on to fix everything while they handed promotions to the good old boys. Something in me cracked. It wasn't loud, not some dramatic outburst. It was this quiet snap, like a rubber band breaking after being stretched too long. My lips curled into a laugh, not the friendly kind. It was the uncomfortable, almost feral kind of laugh that makes people shift in their chairs. Carl's smile faltered. "What's so funny?" he asked, leaning back. I shook my head slowly. "Nothing," I said, still laughing under my breath. But the truth was, I was done. Done believing their excuses, done trying to win a game I finally realized was rigged. For the first time in years, I felt this strange calm under the anger. They weren't going to give me what I'd earned, not now, not ever. So I'd stop waiting for them to hand it to me. If I wanted to get somewhere, I'd have to build it myself. That laugh, that was the exact moment I decided to burn it all down. I was 38 when all this went down, working for a mid-sized IT consulting firm called Apex Group. I'd been there 7 years. 7 years of late-night calls, patching disasters nobody else could untangle, saving the company's biggest accounts by pulling off fixes that should have been impossible. I wasn't just good at my job. I was the guy they counted on when things went sideways. And yet, every promotion cycle, I got the same polite excuses. I did everything they asked. I earned every certification they put on the checklist. I took leadership roles, managed client relationships, even smoothed over accounts other managers had nearly wrecked. None of it mattered. Every time the big decisions were made, I was valuable, but never ready. Meanwhile, guys like Brody's, who couldn't finish a report without spelling errors, got promoted because he was a golf buddy of the VP. Watching him stumble into a management title he hadn't earned made me feel like I'd been slapped across the face. Stonemont Health, our most profitable client, practically owed me their sanity. I'd saved them from 2 massive data disasters, one staying up 48 hours straight to fix a critical outage. That project alone should have made me a lock for promotion. Instead, I was handed a gift card and a thank you email. $100 to a steakhouse, like that made up for missing my niece's birthday and sleeping on the office floor. I told myself it was just a matter of time, but with every rejection, the lie got harder to swallow. That night, after Logan, the new golden boy, got the spot I'd been gunning for, something inside me broke. I went home and had what I can only call an ugly breakdown. I'm talking sitting on the bathroom floor with my back against the tub, staring at the grout lines like they might have answers. My hands were shaking, my heart was racing. I felt like my whole life had been swallowed up by this job that didn't even see me. I grabbed my phone and called my younger brother Nate. He's the opposite of me. Laid back, doesn't overthink things, somehow always lands on his feet. I told him what happened, every bitter detail. He listened quietly, and when I finished, he said something that stopped me cold. "Man, You got to stop caring so much. Stop giving them your best. They're not going to wake up one day and suddenly appreciate you. I sat there, stunned. What am I supposed to do? I can't just phone it in. Why not? He said. You're killing yourself for people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared tomorrow. Use that energy for yourself, not them. His words hit like a brick. I'd spent years thinking loyalty and hard work would eventually get me somewhere. But the truth was, Apex was happy to use me as long as I kept playing the game. It wasn't just that they didn't see my worth. They didn't care to. That was the night I realized I had to stop trying to win a game that was rigged from the start. Nate's words stuck in my head like a splinter. Stop caring. Stop giving them your best. At first, I brushed it off. But over the next week, every time I sat in another pointless meeting or fixed another screw-up someone else caused, those words came back. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to stop being the dependable guy who kept everything running while getting nothing in return. That's when I started making my own plan, quietly, methodically. If Apex wanted to use me as the workhorse, fine. I'd use them right back. I began documenting everything I'd built over the years, every system I'd coded, every weird workaround that only I knew, every client relationship I'd nurtured from nothing. Apex treated those things like they were company property, but they lived in my head. I started putting it all down, not for them, but for me, my own playbook. Once I saw it all on paper, I realized just how much they leaned on me. Stonemont Health didn't call Apex when things broke. They called me. Half the time, the account managers had no idea what was going on until I'd already fixed it. That wasn't loyalty to Apex. That was loyalty to me. I gave myself 6 months. Not to quit right away, but to build leverage. I needed savings, connections, and a clear map of how I could walk out the door without looking back. I'd been so focused on climbing their corporate ladder that I never considered I could build my own. Ironically, the plan meant working harder, but this time, only for myself. I stopped volunteering for random busy work and started pouring energy into the projects that had my name attached. I quietly rebuilt systems so I could track what I'd accomplished and the revenue it generated. Every time a client sent praise, I kept a copy. Every late-night fix that saved a contract, the documented, time-stamped, with my name front and center. I also started reaching out to a few old colleagues who'd left Apex years ago. Most of them were running small consulting firms now, and I was shocked at how well they were doing. One guy told me, "The clients don't care about the logo on your shirt. They care about who actually solves their problems." That line stuck with me. If Apex wasn't going to recognize me, why not work directly with the people who did? By the end of month 1, I had a rough plan. By month 2, I had spreadsheets, savings goals, potential client lists, timelines. I didn't tell anyone, not even Nate. It felt too personal, too fragile, like speaking it out loud might ruin it. I knew I had to make Apex depend on me even more before I pulled the trigger. If I was going to walk, I wanted them to feel it. I stopped playing the quiet team player and started treating every project like a personal portfolio piece. If something was messy or impossible, I volunteered. Not because I wanted to impress Carl or anyone else, but because I wanted leverage. The tougher the problem, the more I'd be the only one who could fix it. Within weeks, Stonemont Health began skipping the formal process of contacting Apex support. Instead, their head of IT called me directly. "We trust you, man," he said once during a late-night server crisis. "You're the only reason we're still with Apex." I didn't correct him, I just nodded, knowing how much weight that kind of trust carried. I started tracking every single win in a private document. Contracts saved, revenue protected, outages prevented. I added screenshots of emails from grateful clients, timestamps of my fixes, and metrics that showed just how much I'd done to keep the company afloat. It wasn't about bragging. It was about proof. Hard evidence that Apex's reputation was tied directly to me, not their bloated management. Outside of work, I reached out to a few ex-colleagues who had left Apex to start their own consulting firms. Over beers and late-night calls, they walked me through the basics of setting up shop. Filing an LLC, pricing services, building a network. Most of them said the same thing. The day I left was the day I stopped being undervalued. By month 3, my savings account had grown. I'd cut unnecessary expenses and funneled every spare dollar into my escape fund. I was still pulling long hours, but every time I stayed late, I reminded myself it was for me, not for Carl's meaningless pep talks. Then, in month 4, Apex announced yet another promotion. Number 12. Not me, of course. Some guy named Daniel who had been here barely a year. I watched Carl's fake smile as he congratulated him in the break room, and I didn't feel anger this time, just amusement. I smiled back, which seemed to rattle Carl more than any complaint could have. He didn't know I was already halfway out the door. The shift in my attitude was subtle, but people noticed. Carl started asking, "Everything okay?" I'd just nod and say, "Great," like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, I was meeting with Stonemont's executives off the clock, not to poach them, not yet, but to strengthen the relationship. They trusted me more than they trusted Apex's account managers, and that was exactly what I wanted. By month 5, my LLC paperwork was filed under the name Ironmark Consulting. I had the logo designed, the website sketched out, and a clear plan of which clients I'd target first. All that was left was the final push. When I thought about quitting, I didn't picture Carl's fake, shocked face, though I knew that would be satisfying. I pictured walking out with my head high, knowing they couldn't replace me no matter how many Logans or Daniels they promoted. 6 months after rejection number 11, I walked into Carl's office with a plain white envelope in my hand. He was mid-sentence on a call, leaning back in his chair like a man who had all the time in the world. When he saw me, he waved me in with that fake smile of his. I placed the envelope on his desk and waited. "What's this?" he asked, still holding his phone. "My resignation," I said simply. The color drained from his face. He muttered something into the phone and hung up. Wait, hold on," he said, his hands up like he could physically stop the words from sinking in. "You're quitting, just like that?" "I'm giving 2 weeks," I replied, calm as ever. "After that, I'm gone." Okay, let's not be rash," he said, leaning forward. "If this is about promotions, we can talk. I'll bring it up with Martin. Maybe—" "Not interested," I cut in. My tone was flat, but inside I felt like I'd just stepped off a cliff and realized I could fly. For a second, he just stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then he started scrambling. "Look, you're a valuable part of the team. We can work something out." I almost laughed. Valuable. That was their favorite word for someone they wanted to keep cheap. I stood, shook his hand like it was any other business deal, and walked out. The next few days were pure chaos. I'd built systems over the years that nobody else fully understood. The moment I stopped babysitting them, they started breaking. Servers went down. Data pipelines clogged. Clients started calling, asking where I was. By day 3, Carl was hovering at my desk like a lost puppy. "Can we talk about what it'll take to make you stay?" he asked, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "$300 an hour," I said without looking up. He turned bright red. "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious. You want me as a consultant? That's my rate." He stormed off, but the cracks were already showing. Stonemont Health called me directly on day 5. "We heard you're leaving," their VP said. "If you're gone, we're rethinking our contract with Apex. They can't deliver without you." I wasn't surprised. I'd been their safety net for years. Still, hearing it out loud felt like validation. For the first time, I realized just how much leverage I really had. By the end of the week, Carl was back, practically begging. "Look, I'll talk to Martin. We'll get you a raise, maybe even a leadership title." I shook my head. "Carl, I'm done. This isn't a negotiation." He stared at me like he still couldn't believe I meant it. But I did. For the first time in my career, I wasn't waiting for permission to move forward. I was taking it. And Apex, they had no idea how bad it was about to get when the clients found out I wasn't coming back. Within a week of handing in my resignation, the desperation hit. Carl's frantic calls stopped, and that's when the CEO, Martin, stepped in. He called me into a meeting, trying to keep it casual, but I could see the panic behind his smile. "Listen," Martin started, leaning across the table. "We don't want to lose you. How about a 15% raise and that promotion you've been asking for?" I laughed. I couldn't help it. 6 years too late, Martin. He blinked like I had just said something absurd. "Well, maybe we can do better. We can rethink your role here." "No," I said simply. "I'm done." By day 10, the offers escalated. A 30% raise, senior manager title, leadership perks. The kind of package I would have killed for 5 years ago. Now it felt hollow. Martin cornered me in the hallway on my last Wednesday. "Name your price," he whispered, as if the walls had ears. "Whatever it takes." I shook my head. "You can't buy back respect. I gave you everything, and you threw it away." He didn't have a response, just that tight-lipped corporate smile that said he still thought I was bluffing. On my final day, I kept it professional. I handed over clean documentation, walked through the systems, and said my goodbyes. Some of my coworkers avoided eye contact, maybe embarrassed they'd never spoken up when I kept getting passed over. A few quietly muttered, "Good luck," but none of them understood what was really happening. I wasn't walking away empty-handed. I was walking away with a plan. Carl cornered me at my desk just as I was packing up my last box. "You won't last 6 months on your own," he said, his face red, his voice almost shaking. "You think you can just take off and make it work? You'll come crawling back." I smiled, calm as ever. "We'll see." That night, I opened a bottle of bourbon and sat at my kitchen table, staring at the LLC paperwork for Ironmark Consulting. My name, my company, my rules. It felt strange and thrilling, like stepping into a new skin. A week later, the first call came. Stonemont Health's VP, sounding annoyed and worried. "We don't trust the people Apex sent over since you left. Are you available for independent consulting?" I took a slow breath. "I am," I said, "but my rate is $300 an hour." There was a pause, then, "We'll sign a contract this week." Just like that, I had my first client, the one I'd saved more times than I could count, now trusting me directly, not Apex. I didn't even feel bad. They'd had every chance to treat me right, and they hadn't. Now, they'd learn what it was like without me. Carl was wrong. I wasn't just going to last 6 months. I was going to build something bigger than anything Apex could imagine. Stonemont Health didn't waste any time. 2 weeks after I officially launched Ironmark Consulting, they terminated their contract with Apex and signed me to handle their entire IT strategy. I'd barely finished setting up my home office when I received the signed agreement. Just like that, my first major client was on board, and paying me nearly double what I used to earn in a month. A few days later, I got a call from Martin, the Apex CEO. His tone wasn't friendly. "You can't poach clients from us," he said, his voice tight. "We will take legal action." I almost laughed. "I never signed a non-compete, Martin. Remember how you refused to offer contracts like that to us low-level tech guys? That decision just saved me a fortune in legal fees." Silence. Then he hung up. That was the last time I heard from him directly. Word spread fast. Within a month, I landed 2 more clients. One of them an old Apex account I'd kept alive for years. The other, a referral from a Stonemont executive who told me, "You're better off without that company. They never appreciated you." I was working more hours than I expected, but this time it felt different. Every hour I worked was for me. Not for Carl, not for Martin. Just me. With 3 solid contracts under Ironmark, I was able to hire my first analyst, Greg. He was another guy Apex had overlooked. Smart, reliable, and burned out from years of being treated like he was replaceable. When I told him my plans, he jumped ship without hesitation. By the end of month 3, I was already making twice my old salary. The pressure was high, sure, but I wasn't answering to middle managers anymore. Clients respected my work because they knew I was the one making things happen, not hiding behind some corporate logo. Meanwhile, Apex was losing clients fast. The accounts I used to handle started calling me instead of them, complaining about missed deadlines and slow responses. I didn't rub it in. I was too busy building Ironmark into something real. Then, one night around month 5, I got a call I didn't expect. "Hey," the voice said, "it's Logan." I almost didn't recognize his tone. Gone was the confident guy who once celebrated getting the promotion I deserved. "I hear you're doing well," he said. "Listen, I'm not happy here. I'd like to work with you, if you're hiring." I leaned back in my chair, smiling. "Funny," I said. 5 months ago, you got the job I wanted. Now you want me to hire you?" He sighed. "Yeah. Turns out the title doesn't mean much when you're drowning." I didn't say yes right away, but I already knew I would. 6 months after I walked out of Apex, Martin called again. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. His voice sounded tired, like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. "Let's cut to it," he said. "We want you back. We'll double whatever you're making now." I leaned back in my chair, glancing around my small but buzzing office. Greg was on a client call in the next room, and a new contract from a hospital network sat on my desk, waiting for my signature. "Martin," I said, "you can't afford me." "Don't be so sure," he shot back. "We've lost 9 clients in 3 months. Stonemont was a big hit, but losing you, that's been the real disaster. I'll give you equity, a director title, whatever it takes." For a second, I felt that old pull, the craving for recognition, for the title I'd chased for years. But the thought passed as quickly as it came. I wasn't the guy in the busted office chair anymore, begging for scraps. I'd built something better. "I've moved on," I said. My tone was calm, final, and I mean that. "Think about it," Martin pressed. "You could come back as the hero, fix things, rebuild our reputation. Isn't that what you wanted?" I laughed softly. "No, what I wanted was respect, and I don't need Apex's name on my paycheck to get that anymore." There was silence on the line. Finally, he muttered, "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, but I doubt it. I hung up and sat there for a moment, feeling something I'd never felt during all my years at Apex. Peace. It wasn't just about the money or the clients or even proving them wrong. It was about knowing I didn't need their approval to succeed. Later that night, I told Nate about the call. He just grinned. "You sound lighter," he said. "Like you finally stopped dragging around their crap." He was right. Apex's collapse wasn't the sweetest part of this whole story. The sweetest part was realizing that I didn't need them anymore. The titles, the office politics, the empty promises, none of it mattered now. I glanced at my Ironmark logo on the office wall, bold and simple. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Every client we landed, every dollar we earned, came from work I chose to do. Work that mattered. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Ironmark was no longer just me and a laptop. By the end of the year, we had 12 employees, all sharp, motivated, and tired of the corporate nonsense we'd left behind. Logan joined first. He walked into my small office one Tuesday morning, wearing the same defeated look I once had after another Apex rejection. "Tell me you have room for me," he said. I leaned back, pretending to think. "Depends. Are you done playing their game?" He gave a bitter laugh. "The game's rigged. I see that now. I want out." Hiring him felt like closing a chapter. The guy who once got my promotion now worked for me. But I didn't gloat. Logan was good at what he did. He just needed the right place to use it. Soon after, I brought on 2 more ex-Apex folks, both tired of being overlooked. We built a team that actually valued each other's work. No endless soul-draining meetings, no chasing meaningless titles, just solving real problems for clients who appreciated it. We made a rule early on: no 60-hour weeks, no weekend emergencies unless it was life or death. We worked smarter, not harder. Clients loved it. The referrals kept coming, and with each new contract, I felt further from the person I used to be. Meanwhile, Apex was spiraling. Word got around that Carl had been let go. Someone mentioned Martin had floated the idea of a merger, probably trying to save what was left of the company. A few people from Apex reached out, saying the place felt like a sinking ship. Martin even called me once, trying to sound casual. "Maybe we should explore a partnership," he said. I almost laughed. "Martin, I'm not interested in patching holes in your boat. I'm building something better over here." He went quiet for a long moment, then muttered, "You've changed." "Yeah," I said. I had to. Ironmark wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. We chose clients carefully, avoided toxic politics, and built something that actually worked. Every time I walked into our small but busy office, I felt proud. Proud of the risks I'd taken, proud of the team we were building, those 11 rejections from Apex. At one point, they felt like failures. Now they felt like the best thing that ever happened to me. Without them, I'd still be stuck in that busted chair, waiting for someone else to decide my worth. Looking back, I can't believe how many years I spent trying to prove myself to people who never cared. I kept waiting for someone at Apex to notice my work, to recognize how much I gave up for that company. But all those late nights and missed family events only bought me another maybe next time. It took walking away to realize I didn't need their permission to succeed. Ironmark is more than a business now. It's proof that I was never the problem. I was just in the wrong place, trying to win a game designed to keep me at the bottom. The day I left Apex, I stopped playing. That was the turning point. Sometimes I think about that bathroom floor moment when I sat there convinced I'd wasted my life. If I could go back, I'd tell that version of me, stop giving your best to people who don't deserve it. I'd tell him that the power shift doesn't happen when someone hands you a promotion. It happens when you decide you don't need one. I share my story now with anyone who will listen. Colleagues stuck in dead-end roles, friends who keep hoping their bosses will finally see their potential. I tell them the truth. If they don't see it now, they probably never will. And that's not your failure. That's their blindness. The day I started Ironmark, I thought revenge would be the best part. Watching Apex scramble, watching their clients walk out the door. But the truth is, revenge faded fast. What replaced it was something better, freedom. The freedom to build a career and life on my own terms, without office politics or broken promises. If you're where I was, stuck, overlooked, exhausted, maybe it's time to ask yourself who you're really working for. Are you building something for yourself, or just making someone else's empire stronger while they ignore you? I know now that walking away doesn't mean you've failed. Sometimes it's the first real win. I didn't need Apex's promotions, their titles, or their validation. My results speak louder than any corporate Employee of the Month plaque ever could. As I sit in my own office now, surrounded by people who chose to work with me, not over me, I finally get it. Those 11 rejections weren't the end. They were the push I needed to build something bigger than Apex could have ever offered. And honestly, that busted office chair, the one I stared at for years, feels like it belonged to someone else's life. I'm not that guy anymore.